So, I don't have anything in particular to add to that gospel reading. Instead, for today, we're going to have a basic reflection on Christ. So it's certainly something worthy of our attention. It just doesn't have anything directly relating to our gospel for today. I really wanted to share this at a Sunday Mass before too long. As soon as we had this conversation, a few weeks ago, someone asked me, Father Justin, what exactly is the difference between Jesus and Moses? Because they both did amazing things. Moses parted the Red Sea, he had the 12 plagues, Jesus walks on water, feeds the 5,000, etc. So why do we focus so heavily on Jesus? Good question. The answer is, all those things he did, his signs and wonders, miracles, they're not what make him unique or worthy of worship. They're just the things Jesus did to get people's attention, which means at the end of the day, they're gimmicks. And the problem with gimmicks is that they're only effective for so long. Eventually, people lose interest. So if someone only cares about Jesus because he healed the sick, eventually that person will get bored and move along. That kind of misses the point, doesn't it? We are supposed to love Christ. We are supposed to be with him here in church as often as we can, not because of what he did, but because of who he is. He is the Son of God. He brings salvation. He is the bridge between humanity and divinity. That's what makes him different from Moses. Moses was a prophet. Frankly, he was the prophet, as well as a leader of God's people. Jesus as well was a prophet. He was a leader in his own way during his time on earth. But the thing is, anybody can be a prophet or a leader, assuming, of course, God likes what he sees on your resume. Jesus is different. He is the way, the truth, and the life. He is everlasting life. He is ultimate truth. He is the way to heaven. And it takes work to let that idea seep into our heads. That is such a radical concept. Ultimate truth in a human being. Okay? It is hard for us to just wrap our heads around that. And therefore, it's hard for us to believe that sometimes. It's almost like we have a natural resistance to that kind of faith, which we need to work on all throughout our life. Case in point. Last Tuesday was Fall Clergy Day. We do this every year. And Fall Clergy Day this year was awesome. It was awesome. It was all about addiction with an emphasis on alcoholism. And frankly, most of the day was just our guest speaker telling us his story. He talked about how the drinking went from bad to worse, how he hit rock bottom, and how he realized, the booze is literally killing me. And he knew he had to make a change. So he did the right thing. He reported himself to the bishop. And after that, he didn't just go into AA, Alcoholics Anonymous. He went to a full rehab program. That takes months, all right? So he was temporarily removed from ministry. He had his own therapist. He had a group that he was in recovery with, the whole 9 yards. And this group of people he was recovering with, they were all reading a book together. I think it was the AA Big Book, which I haven't read. He wasn't clear on that, but regardless of the details, they were all reading a book together. So after a couple of weeks, they all come in. The group leader / therapist goes, hey, good morning, everybody, happy Monday, and all of that. We are on chapter 4, Instructions for the Agnostic. You're all going to read this chapter, every day for a week. So our guest speaker raises his hand. He's like, oh, so I can skip this step, right? Why on earth do you think you could skip this step? I'm a Catholic priest. You know that. I've told you that. It's in my file. Right. Yeah, that's true. You did. Thank you for the reminder. You will read this chapter every day for 2 weeks. Fine. But he wants to get well, so he obeyed, the instructions of his therapist. So he reads this chapter over and over again, and during his one-on-one time with the therapist, unlike the 6th day, he comes in and says, Dr. Smith, I'm finally starting to get it. I am finally starting to understand. This is so exciting because I live to see God at work in people, and now it's my turn. The therapist goes, hey, that's great. I'm thrilled to hear that. What exactly does that mean? And he said, I'm a priest. I'm a pastor. I'm a good preacher. I have a master's in theology. And only now am I starting to realize that even I have agnostic tendencies toward God, and I need to work on that. And he said his number one tendency, because once you realize your main blind spot with God, it's easier to see the other lesser ones, but he said hands down, the number one on that list, I never believed that God was stronger than my addiction. Wow. What an epiphany, right? I kind of figure anybody with a chemical addiction would say something pretty similar to that. Oh yeah, God, love that guy. Like sunsets, rainbows, he did a great job. I can't wait to meet him after I die. But until then, God is very far away, and he can't actually do anything to help me. On the other hand, this $7 bottle of whiskey, cheapest of the cheap, that is the most powerful force in my life. If that bottle of whiskey could talk, I'd probably do anything it told me to do. I'm sure a lot of you are aware that in AA, a fundamental step is submitting to a higher power. So for religious people, that's obviously God. If for non-religious people, they do the best they can. Regardless of how they conceptualize that higher power, that step is absolutely essential. Because, as human beings, we are not strong enough to solve all our own problems, especially the ones we create ourselves. Recovering alcoholics understand that better than most people. And helping one another, that's obviously a good thing, but it will only go so far. We can complement each other's strengths and weaknesses, but at the end of the day, we're still a collection of weak individuals. We need help from up above. That's why having Christ in your life is such an amazing treasure. He's not some powerful but distant, uncaring God, nor is he just some guy who happened to have more answers than the average person. He shares in our humanity while also having full access to the divinity of God the Father. We need that. And by we, I don't mean us as individuals or us as Catholics. We, the entirety of the human race, need him. Because we can't save ourselves. We keep trying and it never works. Christ brings the power and the love and the mercy of God right to our doorstep. Because he is fully human. He knows how scared you are. He knows how ashamed and guilty you feel sometimes. He knows your agnostic tendencies and your spiritual blind spots. He knows how hard you're trying in life. He knows how much you love your family, even though you never talk to each other anymore. He knows all of that and more. That's Christ. And that's what a religious figure, that's what a religious leader can't really do for you. You need God blended with humanity for that full effect. You need power and compassion in one. And that's Christ. That's only Christ. And for that, we should love him and trust him a little bit more every single day.